Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 1111 portal. If you're listening to this on this day, happy 1111 portal day. And if you are not, well, hopefully it's in the week of the 1111 portal and you can get all of the good vibes that I'm sending you for this particular day. Um, I will admit that as an intuitive person, as a witchy person, uh, I should probably do more on these days than I do, but I have reached a point in my career as a medical intuitive and also a place in my own ascension that the portal days hold a great amount of energy and power for me, but I plan out all of my ascension moves and all of my up levelings. So I don't always utilize the days that are quote unquote the most popular. So I don't always use portal days. I will typically use things like eclipses because those don't come around as often. Um, and so I would say if you've been struggling with being able to do your up levels on non a non let's say important days. All days are important, but on days that don't have a massive significance to it, try to use the portal days because they happen once a month. So you're going to definitely find that, your portal days are very frequent. Especially if you're not a person who follows the moon phases, which is another good way to do it. If you're also looking for another, if you miss the portal day or the portal week, you obviously can do things like working it around the full moon or the new moon, things like that. But anyway, welcome to Breath of Life Conversations. This is a Shits and Giggles episode, and I don't really know why I started this way. Oh my gosh. Anyway, well, yes, I do. I do know. I do know. I want to acknowledge the fact that I'm weird and that I do pay attention to these things and that most people probably don't know that. I feel like because of my job, right, as a nurse, as a medical intuitive, I think sometimes people forget that I'm just as witchy, and I would say a lot of my witchiness comes from the water priestesses of Africa and things like that. But I do have this very strong connection to the natural world and things like that. So I felt the need to express that yes, I am just as odd as everyone out there who uh you'd think that does this work. I am very in tune with the natural world and with nature. I'm in love with it. And so just me acknowledging how I am and how I will always be, because that will never change. I'll probably get out and go for a walk today. I really, really, really love this time of year, guys. I am obsessed with this type of year. Obsessed. If you are not watching the YouTube right now, you should, because you should see what I'm wearing, what I'm my comfy sweater, that is so soft and so amazing. And my beautiful crimson lipstick, which is just giving life. But this time of year gives me so much energy and so much joy. I live for September to hit, not because it's my birthday month, which, is like, I mean, I'm not obsessed with my birthday at all, but I am obsessed with the fact that September is really that gateway, that door opening to fall. And when I was a kid, September was really where snow may start to fall. I remember many a fall where we didn't really have fall. It went from summer to winter, and we had we had snow on the ground by the end of September, and if not by the end of September, certainly by the end of October. So Halloween was always a an odd, um, not an odd, it was always a tricky holiday because if you wanted to go trick or treating, you had to hope and pray that it wasn't going to be so cold that you had to be wearing your jacket and stuff and cover up your costume. But we've moved away from that, and now I would say we have more of a fall here, and it's so beautiful. And even though as a kid I was like, oh my gosh, snow, yay! It was more because I really liked how cool it got. I hate being hot. If you guys don't know this about me, I hate being hot. And so this is really my time. This is where I get so excited. I go outside. I love the cool weather. I love wrapping up in a sweater and scarf and even getting breaking out my beanies. And I just thoroughly enjoy being in the crispness that is fall and watching the leaves turn and fall. Right now the leaves are pretty much done. We had the colors this year, and now we're on to winter. It actually just we got a light dusting. We're not anywhere near what happened in like Chicago, um or yet, but it's coming. It's coming, and I can feel it, and I'm so excited, and I hope that we have a really good one. Sometimes it just gets too cold to snow. And so I'm really hoping that the Farmer's Almanac this year is actually accurate and we're going to get at least a little bit of snow. At least a little bit. I'd love to see a white Christmas this year. I would. I would really love it. Anyway, so why did I want to talk to you guys today? What do I want to tell you besides acknowledging that I'm weird and having a weird discussion around weather? Well, I I was at my side hustle. I was at my hospital job. Yes, I do consider that my side hustle, strangely enough, and not so strange for those who know me. And as I was there, I was on a roll. I want to just say, like, I was on a roll, and not because of me working with patients, but because I was working with clients. Like, what turned out, like, a bunch of people who I work with, my colleagues kept like asking questions about their body and their health. And I just boom, 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 boom. I was like flying. There was the answer. There was the answer. There was the answer of like what it is. Now, the thing is like people, here's one thing that I want to make abundantly clear for people. And one of the reasons why I tell people don't be afraid to ask me questions, because if you ask me questions all in good faith, like I will more than likely answer you. More than likely, I will answer you. The only real time where I will tell people, like, this has to be a little bit more in depth, or you need to sit and like book a session with me, or think about coming into like my mastermind or my long-term coaching. The reason for the scenarios that would take place in order for me to need to say that to you is because whatever it is that you're asking is either so in depth that it would take more than a couple of seconds for me to answer you, or you specifically, your like issue specifically is so extensive because of your history that I would need to sit and explain to you all the different aspects in order for you to have the most information, like the most up-to-date and current information that you need in order to do what needs to be done and to be able to get healthy. Because to me, I hate doing things half-ass. I hate it. It sucks for me. I dislike not being able to make sure that when somebody asks me a question about their health or their energy or their intuitive abilities, that I don't always get the opportunity to fully flesh out everything that they need to know so that they can move forward in life and have the most extraordinary transformation. And I know that there's a lot of people out there that say, well, Abigail, does that mean that you haven't like quite nailed down your technique or like the knowledge that you need? No, what I say is that the human body is fucking complicated, and and energy is also complex. And if you believe in any way, shape, or form that anything having to do with the body is going to be as easy as trying to find the love of your life, like it's not. And I can already hear you guys when you say what Abigail's comparing, like getting healthy to finding the love of your life. Finding the love of your life is so difficult. No, actually, it's not. It's not. Finding the love of your life is actually like quite easy. And all you have to do really is like make yourself available, okay? Make yourself available and like work through your triggers and your communication skills. But like after that, there's so I think people who try to make relationship stuff complicated is because they just want to be in their victim about it. They want to be able to say, "Oh, poor me, I'm alone." But when it comes to the body is quite it's so interactive, it's so interconnected that you have to not only understand the piece by piece, but you have to understand how things work together. And so I had to laugh because I had one of my colleagues be like, "Oh, my back hurts." And I was like, "Oh, here's what you do." Like, here's what you do. Just like do this, do this, do this. And then, oh, when you get home, do this. And immediately, like she did, like I had her do a couple of like stretches and I asked her a couple of questions about like how she was feeling. And between the asking her, well, like, what is it that you're feeling? Like, what are you stressed out about? And then having her do something physical to actually help that energy continue to move through her body within 30 seconds. Well, no, not 30 seconds, within a minute, because I told her you need to do this stretch for 30 seconds on this side and 30 seconds on this side. And after a minute of her doing the stretches while I'm asking her the questions about how she was feeling, what she was stressed out about, and things like that, she finished doing the stretch and she was like, "Oh my God, like I feel that's way more loose. Like that now I'm not in pain anymore." And then I was talking about a past client who really struggled with digestive issues, so much so that her bowel movements were not happening. They just weren't happening. And I was saying how I had worked with this individual for 3 months, and by the end of the 3 months, we had her going to the bathroom on her own instead of needing to use laxatives and enemas and things like that. And as I was telling the story, one of our x-ray techs came up and overheard me talking, and she is currently pregnant. And she said, "Oh my gosh, this sounds like something that this sounds like some information I need." She's like, "I've been on magnesium for a really long time." And I said, "Well, you know, like when you say a really long time, what does that mean?" And she's like, "Years, since before my first baby." And she's had like 5 kids, or this is going to be her 5th kid. And I said, "Wow, that's a lot." And she's like, "So are you saying that like my body is like kind of getting used to this medication?" And I said, "Yeah, yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that like what people don't understand about medications is that medications are super concentrated. And so when we're struggling with something inside of our body, medications are can be great because they can help us have a relief quite quickly, right? So I think about things like pain medications. If you've got a headache, you can take a Tylenol or an ibuprofen, and within 30 to 45 minutes, your headache can be gone. So I said, in your case, if you have been using this for forever, for forever, as in like years, what I would then assume is that if you stop taking it, you're going to struggle to have your bowel movements, and when you struggle, you're going to potentially have like other issues as well. And she's like, "So what do I do?" I said, "Well, number one, like we have to figure out like why your body stopped having started having issues that required that medication first, but then we have to actually deal with the physical aspect of it. And the physical aspect of it is that your microbiome in your gut sucks now. Your body is basically saying, why would I perform a very natural function on my own when I know you're just going to give me medications that's going to force me to do it?" And the body is going to become reliant on that. And so we have to handle that. We have to tell the body, you know what, this isn't a natural state of being. We want to get to a natural state of being. And so we have to retrain. And the retraining process can be long. It's not necessarily a quick process, but I said, I know that we could get you settled in about 3 months, and you could be off of the medication in 3 months. And it was so incredible because she was like, "Oh my gosh, this is like so amazing." And she's like, "I'll have to, like come and like work with you." And I said, "Absolutely, 100%. I'm here for you. Like this is what I do." And and she came back to me the next day. She's like, "This was like thinking I was thinking about this. This is such in my head, and I was really curious about whether or not like my body was relying on my medication." And she's like, "So I didn't take it, and it was so hard to go to the bathroom." And I was like, "I'm so sorry, but I also remember telling you not I remember telling you to not stop taking it while you were pregnant." Like, don't, I remember telling you you need to give birth first and then we'll deal with whatever after the fact. It was like, don't just stop doing what you're doing because I want you to have a comfortable pregnancy. And so it's so interesting um to me just how much the body and energy works together and how complex it is, and all of the different things that you need to know in order to make it function the way that it needs to function. And not just needs to function, but then when you're like me, when you're somebody like me and you're like, it's not just about how it's supposed to function, it's about having it function at a level that is envious of most of the people in the world. Like, I don't just want a body that is operating as it should naturally. I want a body that's like supernatural. So everything that I'm doing now from an energetic perspective is to help open my body up to being even better than what is considered normal. Not just having normal levels or average levels of anything, but having optimal levels of things. And so it's an interesting place, but it's just something that I wanted to it's something that I wanted to vocalize. I wanted to be able to just say to everybody, like, gosh, you guys, this work works. This work works. And be like interested. Be interested in how your body and your energy is functioning. Because if you really want to stop being in a place where you're just living, you're just surviving. If you want to move out of that place and you want to move into a place of thriving, you have to have some level of curiosity. And I feel that way about almost anything. Like, if you want to become a millionaire, you really need to get interested in how money works and how manifestation works and how energy around money, like how do you get to a place where you are actually able to hold and sustain money, right? Like that whole idea of like, if you want to have a lot, then you need to be able to hold it, right? And not just call it in, because calling it in is step one, but holding it and sustaining it is step two and step three, right? And so you have to get curious about that. You have to get curious about the different ways in which you can make money and how it can find you, and what it is how you feel about money and all that stuff. You have to get curious about it, because if you're not curious about it, then nothing's gonna happen. And I feel that way about the body too. If you're interested in having if you want to have a body that is exceptional, then you need to get curious about how to make it exceptional. All right, everyone. That is our Shits and Giggles episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Return next week for my conversation with Marielle. Marielle is an 8-figure entrepreneur and day trader, and she has really mastered this idea around holding massive amounts of money. And I really wanted to have a conversation with her about how she was able to do this. Like, what is it that she does that must be so incredibly different than other people who don't? And so join us for that conversation. You're going to love it. All right, everyone. We will see you next time on the next Breath of Life Conversations. Bye, y'all.